All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode from at the Anup Zombie Studio. And sorry about that. And this is episode number 9. And we have today we are continuing on our mental health series, and we have Juhi Jaiswal with us, and she was there in the last episode as well on mental health. And thank you, Juhi, for joining us in the studio. And we have also brought Namrata with us today. So she is going to be talking about something different than last time that we did. And today's topic is something that is a bit of a mystery. It's always been a mystery. It's always been a big mystery. There's no denying that it was frowned upon for ages in India, and just the topic of something like love or dating or relationship itself would send shivers down the spine of your parents at one point. But now it is something that is talked about, and but there are still teething issues where people are still trying to figure out a lot of things, like right from the basic questions. It is quite the mystery. So let me welcome you, Namrata, to the Anup Zombie Studio,
Thank
and
you.
also this program is in association with Real Free Market India. So if you guys are on X, please join in at Free Market IND, which I'll be putting it up in a while, and you can join that account. And basically, we talk about civic issues. Mental health is a civic problem that is occurring right now. So it is part of our drive to help people, with their personal issues. So all right. So, how are you guys doing, Namrata? If you could tell us something about yourself. I mean, like, are you from like your background and things like that? If that will help.
Yeah. Yes, I am doing good. Thank you for asking. And I am basically from Maharashtra, from Nasik, and I've been talking a bit about my professional background. I've been into practicing um, as a psychologist, as a psychotherapist since 2022. I did my master's from a college in Bangalore and then did my PG diploma in counseling psychology from Xavier's Mumbai. And and yeah, since then I've been practicing and helping people out.
All right. Juhi, okay. Of course, we have introduced her in the last episode. She's also a psychologist and has been practicing for a few years now. And it's great to have both of you on the show. So, my first question really is, like, let's start with the elephant in the room. So what is this whole thing called love? This crazy thing called love, as the Queen song goes. Is it? Is it just a feeling? Is it something that words can do? Is it an action? Is it a choice? Or does it reflect something much more deeper? What is it? Or is it a chemical reaction? What is going on with this whole thing, and how should put people actually put something like this in perspective, when they think about something like that? I will go with you first, Juhi, on this one. How would you describe this?
Okay, so there was this quote I read somewhere and it's really stuck with me. And I think it very nicely defines what love is and isn't. It says love is giving someone the ability to destroy you, but trusting them not to. So it's a very deep thought that you give someone that power over you, but you trust them that they will not misuse it and they will not abuse that power. And once we'll be talking about this a little bit later in this show, how we kind of sometimes give away our power to someone and get into toxicity and things like that. But yeah, speaking of love, I think that for me that is what love is. So yeah.
Right. How about you, Namrata? How would you
Yeah.
talk about love?
Building on to I think what Juhi said really, I think it's very powerful. And to add on to that, I think love comprises of a lot of components. There are a lot of things that would mean that would contribute to love. For example, there's understanding, there's trust, there's respect, there's vulnerability, um, empathy, and a lot of collaboration, cooperation. Together, it would these components, when they come together, and we choose to sort of we choose to act on in these ways, like I choose to be understanding, I choose to be empathetic towards my partner, or in my relationships as well. So when we choose on a consistent basis and we commit to that, I think on a whole that would mean love to me.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a combination of a lot of things, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like there was a time when people say, "I did this for you," and you didn't, sort of reciprocate it back or something like that, and they would consider that as a big thing for some reason, for some personal choice reason, or they would have even buying some flowers would mean having to have it reciprocated in some way, right? Like, so where do people actually draw the line here? How do they cope with something like this? Do a lot of people understand how to uh, how to show this? How does that work with people based on your experience of people around that as psychologists that you have? Juhi, how about you?
I think that's a tricky question actually. A lot of people don't understand that and get offended or feel disrespected when someone doesn't reciprocate their feelings. And then there are those people who do understand that it's not a one-way street. Uh, it has to be a two-sided thing, otherwise it won't work. So through a lot of awareness and through a lot of our work, we try and get people to this understanding that it cannot be one sided, and if it is one sided, it is problematic. You need to let go of it. And on that note, like I've seen so many movies, especially so many Bollywood movies, that romanticize this idea of someone going crazy for someone, or like running after them, stalking them even, and consider all of that as love. So our idea of love is very skewed when it comes to when it comes to what it really means, because if you see the movies, if you listen to the songs that we listen to, they are obnoxious to say the least,
Right.
uh, and those are the areas, like those are the things that help us form our ideas around love, right? Apart from our interaction with our parents and our caregivers and our first ideas of what love looks like, that is like a whole different segment. But when you think of where do we get our ideas of pop culture, right? So that's where it comes from. And it's highly problematic, and people need to start understanding that it's not okay to stalk someone just to say that you love them and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
so
think
so
it's
the
really,
yeah,
yeah.
Namrata, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just building on that. I think it's really important to understand how far you can go in for someone in love.
Right, right. So I mean, I understand the popular culture reference because at the end of the day, I have always wondered, like, is this how directors of movies actually perceive love, or are they just doing it to because they think that the people want it? Like it's almost like, oh, okay, this is the way people have always perceived it, so I'm going to make a movie just like that. It's so strange that like these directors who spend a lot of money making these movies make these movies along these premises time and time again. It's not just one or two movies. It's like it's always been happening. So this is really affecting people's mindset, right? Like in
Yeah.
general, like
It
people
is.
Like I don't know how is it affecting people in urban places a little more than it is affecting people in like the rural areas, or is it like the same thing? Everybody feels like that is the understanding of love. Like I'm not sure if that do you find students or people or things like that from different areas who feel that way, who feel differently, or it is just anyone who watches it who gets caught on to that stigma, right? So all right, so basically let's talk about where do you actually draw the line between like some healthy devotion, right? I mean, like there is something called like even in religious aspects there is also healthy devotion, and there is obsession, extremism with it. And I guess in this case as well, there is something that makes it healthy, and there is something else that kind of makes this feeling very toxic at the end of the day, where you can go to extreme lengths to either prove something or take it all away, or just like drown the whole thing up, like the how does this all this manipulation and where is the balance created here,
Yeah, yeah.
that how about you, Namrata, on this one?
I think it's very important to understand how far are we going in love, and I think we should go as far as we're feeling safe. But then again, the definition of safety might be different for everyone. Let's say, for example, if someone has an idea of being in love without boundaries, or if someone has grown in a chaotic environment, for them that is familiar and that is safe. So, for us humans and for our brains, familiarity and safety goes hand in hand. So, it's important to understand psychological safety, where one is able to express their opinions, um, and disagree without worrying that the other person is going to react. That's where we can say that as long as you think that there is safety being created or there is work being put to create that safety together, um, you can go as far. What do you think, Juhi?
Yeah.
And I think here where when you said manipulation and all these things that come into picture, with then now we see there are red flags or green flags in the in like we're hearing this a lot. So what do you think, Juhi, on that?
So I think this is something that came to my mind a few weeks back. I was just reading about red and green flags, and I was just thinking, if you're wearing green colored goggles,
Uh-huh.
everything is gonna seem green to you. Even a red flag is gonna seem green to you. And
Yeah,
if you're
damn.
wearing red colored goggles, you're gonna see everything as red, including the green flags.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be very mindful of the fact that our perception, our upbringing, our environment, our experiences, and all of these things that make us unique are also the things that sort of color our judgment. And to
Right.
be objective is difficult, but it's not impossible. You can be objective while looking at your own life, people in your life, situations in your life. And I think one of the best ways to understand if something is a red flag or a green flag is to see if it doesn't make you feel comfortable or doesn't make you feel comfortable, right? So if there is something which is evoking a stress response in you, then you would want to sort of stay away from that kind of a situation or that person. Whereas if you feel that you're being taken care of, you are being, and when I say being taken care of, I don't mean getting attention, because attention and love are two very different things, right? So when I'm
Yeah.
talking about uh, getting that kind of uh, care and concern and affection, that's when it seems that those are the things that could be a green flag. But if you're thinking of red flags, sometimes a lot of over concern also seems like a green flag, but it's really not. If someone's constantly asking you, where are you? With whom are you? What time are you coming back? Why didn't you take me with you? This
Yeah.
feels like a lot of attention and a lot of care and concern, but it's actually not. This is like almost
Track
stalking
keeping.
someone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes in these movies they glorify these things, right? So
Huh,
it's like
right, right.
again,
And that's so
again it'll be like,
problematic.
oh, you didn't call me, so then you don't care. it's
Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah.
of like the opposite kind of thing. Are there any books that people can read on this? Do you suggest any articles or something like that that you know? Movies are absolutely useless. That's been established at this point. But but are there any
Luckily,
kind
there
of
are
books?
good movies now, I guess.
There
At
are.
least some. Probably
Like
building on it.
which one do you think is a good movie to watch to really understand love? Like what would you suggest to people to watch? Like and I can't think of one.
Are you
Right
thinking
from
of a
West
movie
Side
and not being
Story, I
able to
think
come up with it?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm saying, are you thinking of a movie and not being able to come up with one?
I
Yeah,
think
that's also there. But I think
I
I think
can't think of a single movie.
there's this movie I really
Okay,
like, which is
okay.
it's the Bollywood movie Rocky and Rani ki prem kahani
Oh,
something.
this was
Alia and Ranveer's.
okay, okay,
So
all
I'm
right,
not
all right.
promoting and anything. It's just my
Got it, got it,
opinion.
got it. We are
It's
just
just my
discussing a
opinion.
movie. That's about
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I think that movie really portrays a lot of Indian cultural aspects and love between two people and how much work it takes to actually make it work. I think that's one movie I've really liked, and I think it's progressive in that way. From what we've been seeing
Okay.
in the past, I think now it's slightly that. But yeah,
Okay.
Interesting. Now I'm
Okay.
gonna go and
Okay.
watch this one.
you can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So no,
that's
I
why I
mean,
was
like
like,
I.
yeah, there are, but I'm not sure how many, and there
Yeah, I
people
mean, like
might have different
I
opinions on
also
that
just
movie as
this
well.
question just popped in my head, so I was
Yeah.
also thinking, are there actually any movies that would I mean, like even Hollywood, whatever it is, like I'm struggling to find
Even
something that I can confidently refer to a friend and say, hey, you know what, this is what you kind
yeah,
of should probably look
yeah.
at.
Even this movie Thappad. Now
Right.
again, there will be controversy. People will have different opinions, but I'm just saying that it just creates, let's say, some awareness
Right.
and how people can go about it. Yeah.
Right. 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 So
Thappad was a very realistic depiction of what love should not be,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's a very understated movie. I feel
And
it's
yet,
not.
huh.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just saying that yet people have opinions. Like some people have liked it, some people have not. So again, what to
yeah, yeah, that's because
confidently
probably they are influenced by the other movies, right?
other
They're like, hey,
movies.
this
Y-
this
Yeah,
this ain't gonna
exactly.
work.
So, but we can still
So
say that these are progressive movies, and yeah, as Juhi also rightly pointed out, that yeah, it's underrated in a
yeah,
way,
that
and
this is my point. That movie is probably underrated because it does not follow the exact norms of like
Yeah,
how people are thinking, and that's kind of probably why directors are afraid to make movies outside
movies
that
like that.
that
yeah,
storyline,
yeah.
and that thing itself. So yeah, yeah. We've got to like punish the movie industry a little bit at some point. So I don't mind bashing them a little,
There is
and
this book that I read long time back, but it's a really good book. It's called All About Love,
okay,
and it talks about the different forms of love that it can take. Romantic love, between a parent and a child, and it's a very comprehensive book about love. So if someone wants to read about sort of forms of love or what shapes and forms love can take, it's a really nice book to read. And it's very well written, like it's very easy to read. It's not like it has a lot of jargon and stuff. So very smooth reading and very interesting stuff.
right,
Yeah,
right, right. So
yeah.
this is all about love by which author did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
Bell Hooks or Bell Brook, I'm not sure.
Okay, okay, okay. So all about love. Okay, so all right. So if anyone wants to actually have some reading material, that's a good one to go. Now, I mean, there are various kind of attachment styles, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, I think it really depends on the type of person you are. Some people are anxious about like everything, so let's say you have a partner who's anxious and stuff like that about everything. It probably requires another partner who knows how to deal with that anxiety as well,
Yeah.
right? Or there may be disorganized people or avoidant, or you do bring your own kind of tendencies into any relationship, right? You do
Yes.
bring something that you grew up with, some fear, or could be abandonment, or could be anything, right? So how are people, in a relationship, how are people supposed to cope with all of these things? And like, it could be as simple as you having dinner at a restaurant on your first date, and the guy says, oh, I'm not a non-vegetarian, I don't eat anything, or something like that. It could be, even that could be construed as a turn off for the other side, because they could probably have a very big emotional attachment to food, right? Like something very emotionally binding. So how do you think our attachment styles shape shape our relationships, or the way people love each other? Are there any thoughts on that, Juhi? I mean,
I think Namrata
Yeah.
should take this one.
okay, Namrata, yeah, please do. Yeah, go
Yeah.
She's
ahead.
the
Yeah.
expert on attachment styles.
No, no, I'm no
Oh,
expert.
really? Oh,
I'm
okay.
no
Let's go.
expert. But since you were asking about books, I think there is another book called Attached.
Okay.
It's by Amir Levine and Rachel. So that
Okay.
I read this book recently, and I think this book is really a good read for anyone who wants to understand what is attachment in the first place, attachment theory, and what are these different attachment styles, how to understand where you are at, how to understand where a potential partner or your current partner is at, and how to sort of navigate the relationship. So when I think it's helpful to first understand then what are these different types and how do they look like. So maybe we can just go through that if
Sure.
yeah. Okay. So first of all, attachment. What attachment means is how we are relating ourselves in relation with other people, in relation to other people. So it's not necessarily a romantic partner. It could also be your friends, family members. So basically, how we relating ourselves? These are some subconscious rules that you formed very early on in life, probably in the first 2 years, 5 years of your life, um, and that's the impact that it gets
Uh,
impacted at
you,
a
hold on.
yeah.
You mean like these the foundation level of this thought is right from that age, like when you're 5 years
Yeah.
old?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Because it how your primary caregivers have um, paid attention to you, given care to you.
Oh,
So basically, your very first attachment is going to be with your primary caregivers, probably mother, father, or anyone else who was primarily there around you. That's when initially that attachment emerges. Yeah, right from breastfeeding to feeding, talking, all of this starts right there. And we learn a lot of these things right in the first few years of our lives. And that has the capacity to also shape our adult relationships.
It's like a blueprint for your life.
Yeah, yeah,
It
that
forms
is
like a
crazy,
blueprint,
because
yes,
this
and
this
when
this
you
shows how much parents need to be very careful in those first formative years of the 5 years, so your kid, when they grow up, has a chance of a good relationship, right? It's not like something that you can just do what you want, and then hopefully your kid will learn along the way at some point that
yeah, you
easy.
can't wing it.
yeah.
Oh, well, I wish I'd known that sooner. It would have helped a little bit, I think. So, okay. So, wow, to 0 to 2 and until 5 years, I think. Also, when you hit the teens, also as well, there is another kind of an injection into your system, right? Like there
Yes.
is some. Uh,
So to add to that, I won't. It's like even if a certain attachment style was formed in your early years, it's not necessary that it's going to stay like that only. There are a lot of environmental factors as well eventually that will affect your attachment style. Let's say someone who was consistent, they had a bad experience in their relationships with friends or a very bad breakup, and after that their attachment style sort of changed. So that also has the power to influence. So it's like on a spectrum, we can't really box one person in one attachment style. So there are four basically: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. These are the primarily four.
What are the four again? Anxious? Sorry.
Secure, first is secure attachment style,
Right.
and the rest three are insecure attachment styles, and
Okay.
those are anxious, or we also call it preoccupied anxious. Avoidant is dismissive avoidant, the other name. Disorganized is also called as fearful avoidant. Okay,
Right.
so it's very clear from the words itself that secure would feel more secure in relationships, would be able to easily give love, accept and receive love. In short,
Right.
anxious people are anxious in their relationships. Like, where is my partner? So, like that, keeping a track, or if
Right.
let's say they are not available for some time, their system gets sort of activated and they might act up in different ways. It can look different to everyone,
Right.
those who fall under that. Then there's avoidant, who like to take their space, who sort of are fearful when somebody tries to get close to them. So they would sort of,
Sounds like me. Like, yeah.
uh-huh, yeah. So
Right.
somewhere around that, of course, there are a lot more to describe there, but this is just in short. And disorganized is fearful avoidant, which means they deeply want love. They are fearful of losing out on their loving partners. They have abandonment wound, but they also at the same time fear love. So if someone tries to come close, they will push it away. So that's slightly
Oh.
confused. And
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering about the terminology. So it says disorganized. Does that mean uh, like you just don't know what that person, like it's
sometimes,
very
yeah,
haphazard kind of a thing?
it's slightly confusing. More than slightly, it gets very confusing. They find it difficult to trust the environment. So it's like they want love, so they would want to attract someone, but at the same time when the person would get close to them, they will also push it away. So the other person might feel, hey, what, I'm confused. So that can leave
Right,
the other
right,
person confused.
right.
But also to say that again, we can't box in one category,
Yeah.
uh, because some people are, let's say, disorganized in one relationship dynamic,
Right.
with other aspects. So it's not possible, and not everyone is 100% every attachment style. Even secure people are going to have insecurities.
Yeah, everybody's
Um,
going to have a slight percentage of these
Slight
things.
different
No,
here
you
and
you
there.
you
Yes,
couldn't
yes.
have grown up
And
that like 100% well
yeah,
at some
and
point.
the good point is that if it's possible to form secure attachments, even if you are a disorganized, you can still form secure attachment style. You can heal those wounds. So it's not necessary that you're going to stay in one place. So rather looking it as a hierarchy, we can just look at it in a spectrum that okay, it can vary in different dynamics.
So let's talk about the real world scenario right now. Like, are there people who actually know this? Like, I mean, like, like in general, like logically, the way you think, you would think like this. So, even I didn't know these four terms existed at all. So, I mean, like, how does one go about even, like approaching, like, first of all, they'll have anxiety, first of all, to go and talk to the person that they like, right? That's
Mm.
one of the first things. What makes people confident? Like, is there any criteria that makes some people more confident? Hey, I care, or whatever it is, that to form a relationship of this sort. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Juhi, would you like to go?
I don't think there is anything specific that makes someone more confident or less confident. I think it's just about how much faith you have in yourself and how much courage do you muster to go up to someone and say, hey, you know what, I think I like you. Uh,
Even thinking
because
of that freaks me out. Like I don't know how we actually do
You
this.
know, to add to that, when talking about confidence, I think one thing that can help is awareness. Probably
Right.
getting aware where you are at, what is your style, maybe attachment style. If you're talking about attachment, just being aware that okay, this is how I am. This is how I probably then need to approach, in terms of even approaching and receiving vulnerability. And I guess that's when you navigate that, you will learn a lot about yourself, and you will work through um, work through your confidence concerns, and that's how slowly a person might become confident.
Right. So, yeah, even this is kind of a very tricky thing. Like first you kind of have to look at somebody and then put them under a certain category of type of people, right?
No,
But
no, I
when you add love and all that into the equation, nobody's going to think logically.
yeah.
So, like I have had friends who've called their better halves, angels and stuff like that, and all of that, and they're divorced within like 6 months. So, like it's so strange for me because like you do go through what your friends go through as well in their life, right? Friends and family as well. I mean, like if you are a human, you've seen someone in your family go through a rough divorce, or you go through rough relationships, or being under suppressed or an oppressive kind of you do see these things, and I think they also affect you to a certain degree, right? I know a lot of people who have seen this who say that they don't want a relationship that's close, right? So what kind of thing would you put them under? Would you put them under a secure category or like an insecure category? Like people who say, hey, you know what? Yeah,
Don't want to be
the,
close.
don't.
People who don't want to be close, like they don't
Yeah,
want to
people
feel.
who don't. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that will come
That would
under
be
like
insecure.
disorganized, is it?
No,
That
no,
would be
not
insecure, right?
disorganized.
Oh,
Any of the three categories, but on the insecure side, because secure people feel comfortable giving and receiving love.
what about people who don't want love and all that? Are they okay in their life? Are they? Would you suggest that to people? Like how would you go about saying, okay, so it is? Would you say it is okay?
I think there are
I don't
two
know. Sorry,
possible
I'm asking like
reasons.
tricky questions here because my
No,
head is going haywire.
it's
like
okay.
I'm just because I do know people who have like said that, hey, I don't care, it is what it is.
I
So
think there are two possibilities here. If one is saying that I don't want love out of a concern of or a fear of it, or anything where they haven't worked, like they're running away in terms of, no, I don't want to work in this area because it's too much probably, then coming from that aspect would mean that okay, they might have to work on a few areas. Other perspective could be that
right,
that person knows that this is the case. I have healed or I have not, but I consciously chose that I don't want this to be a part of my life, and it should be okay because it's their conscious choice.
right. So this
yeah,
brings me to yeah,
Yeah,
Juhi.
ultimately it's a choice, right? Like,
yeah,
we have this very romantic view of love that, oh, you love at first sight, and you fall in love, and then you rise in love, and what not have the movies taught us. But if you really think about it, end of the day, like any other thing in our life, love is a choice. Like, whether you continue to be consistent with it, whether you want it to be there in your life, whether you want to do the work, whether you want to sort of stay away from it, it's absolutely a choice, and everybody's free to make that choice.
yeah.
It's not for us to judge someone on the basis of that choice, because if we were in that position, we don't know what choice we would make, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it's okay for people to not want love or not want relationships,
Yeah.
but the reason behind that should be very clear and understood by them. Not making decisions out of misplaced fear or misplaced lack of courage, that becomes a problem then.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Right,
think you've tried to be in a relationship, you've tried getting married, or you've tried having a partner and it doesn't work for you, it's not something that you want in your life, you're free to choose that, as you know, if you're free to say a no to that. Whereas there are people who are single and who would really want someone, they are also free to make that choice, right?
Right.
But to judge someone on the basis of these choices is not fair, I think, because we don't know what, like I said, like we don't know what we would do in those situations.
Yeah.
And everybody has a reason for the way they behave, everybody has some story behind it. So it becomes important to know that everybody is making these choices out of some experience that they've had, prior experience that they've had
Right.
before.
Sometimes some people
Yeah.
just don't want to put in the work, and they might agree, like they'll accept that, and that's also okay, because it can relationships do bring up a lot of core insecurities on the surface, and it might be out of their
Yeah.
capacity to
They
work
they'll
through
also
that,
go
and
through a
it's
lot of
okay.
other social kind of stigma. You know, every party or family gathering you go to, they are going to be like, oh, you're not, you're not in a relationship.
Yeah.
But that's a
You
choice
know,
they've made, and that they kind of live with the
again,
repercussions
you
of that
probably have to
choice.
strengthen your own self and say, okay, you know, they're going to say it anyway. So I guess
Yeah.
Yeah.
again,
You
like
would
a
much
lot of
rather be single than be in a wrong relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
There's
especially
still peace.
Yeah,
when a
being.
relationship actually goes into a legal scenario, right? I mean, relationship at the end of the day, it's not just about love anymore. Like you do sign a contract of some sort, which can hurt you. I think that does that play a mind in young people's heads when they make their decisions. Like, oh, okay, what if I do the wrong thing and somebody is maybe after money, or like it can happen both sides, right? Like what are there any cases like that you can sort of like does this play a factor in relationships?
I think it's very subjective.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't come across anything as such in my work. But
Right. Right.
what about you, Namrita?
Yeah. Um, no, even I have to think, but I think your question primarily, I think it's very subjective when you say that people might want a few aspects to be. Um,
No, what I'm trying to figure out is, I'm trying to say, does this also factor in your decision before a relationship, right? Like, do you think, oh, okay,
huh, huh.
am I going to get into trouble? I mean, this person, I love this person, but this person looks like a troublemaker, but I can't help jumping into this pit. But
Yeah.
like at some point, does that enter your mind, or is it just okay, let me just
I
go
think,
ahead with it?
yeah, I think I've just seen examples here and there where they have known that, yeah, this probably is going to problematic situation, and yet chosen to be in
And
it,
yet do it,
and
right? I
give it,
mean, like
yeah.
there's
And
only one way to
whatever the
find out.
consequences were, yeah. And there are people who have, like, they have understood that, okay, probably this could be problematic, and then from the awareness. So where the
Right.
person is at in terms of their awareness also matters. If they think that this is something they can't go ahead with, and has the courage to sort of walk away, accept, or be vulnerable in that space, and then people have also
Right.
worked out on that basis. So I think there will
So
be
I
examples.
also think a lot of things have changed from the 80s and 90s and all of that. Like I don't know what people used to actually do during those times to go and meet the person who you want to spend life with, or who you want to love, or I really don't know. There weren't any, especially in India, other than certain urban cities. I don't think you could just like that meet. Maybe workplace, maybe maybe a family party where somebody brought a friend, I guess, or something like
Arranged
that.
marriages.
Arranged marriages, yes. I mean, like, to a certain extent, I don't know where you would place that, like, in your scheme of things of the thing. But yeah, so arranged marriages where people, so that is probably 90% of the cases, I guess, probably more of
Back
the cases
then.
that were there. Okay, now looks like people do have a choice, right? I mean, Namrata, like, people do have a choice. some people who are lucky, I
Perceived
guess, like
sense of choice or real choice. Now that's
yeah, yeah, that's another thing. Like, like so. Of course, let's look at the options that people have right now. Of course, there are these. There are probably clubs that you can go to, or groups that you go. Like, let's say you're a bike rider and you're part of a biker gang, or you're a traveler. You're part of a, maybe there you can meet some people. Communities are one aspect. Dating apps, another big thing, right? Like where you can typically probably look at multiple people at the same time, which is crazy. Like it's tough to understand one, but you can go through like hundreds
yeah.
hundreds
Yeah,
of
I think
different information, and how does your brain process all of this into making the right decision? Do you guys have thoughts on how
People
the landscape of dating has changed, over a period of time,
people
the
need to
spoil for
talk.
choice.
Yeah, people need to
Yeah.
talk enough to make a decision. With dating apps, I guess they don't even like talk enough and form a
I think
relationship or a bond.
dating apps have effectively ruined the dating scene.
Oh,
It
really?
was so
That's
much
that's
Yeah,
that's a fact.
easier. I
Okay.
mean, this is my opinion.
so yeah.
Okay.
That if if say 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, let's say 20 years ago, in the late 90s, let's say, if I had to meet someone, what were my options? I would, whatever were my options, they were real options. They were not virtual options, right? And these real options
Right.
had value. Now, when I
Right.
talk of 2025, I'm on, I mean, I have used dating apps and I know the kind of uh, misery they could come with
Oh,
because
really?
you suddenly have so many options. A, B, the dating apps in India are very skewed. So guys, like men rarely get matches, women get too many matches. It's all lopsided,
Yeah.
Oh.
right? And even when you do get a match, if it's going to be consistent or not, it's not a given. People ghost you left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Even after months of talking, suddenly you hear no message, no call, no text, nothing from that person. And that really leaves you with, like, you have no closure. You have no sort of uh, good feeling at the end of it. At least it was a nice experience. You can't even say that much.
It becomes very exhausting when it keeps going on. You get tired of the process.
So then
It's
why are women on these
exhausting
apps?
because that's the only option left for us today. It's very rare that you would find someone organically because, especially because of COVID, everybody was working from home. There was no social interaction. Even when you do go for social interactions, you may not want the exact same interest in the other person. So if I'm a biker, I may not want a partner who is a biker. I may want a partner who's a trekker, for example. You don't necessarily, they say opposites
You don't
attract for a reason.
necessarily want somebody to do the exact same thing you do, right?
Exact
Like that's
same thing
also,
that you
yeah.
are doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also, I feel like it dating apps are working because it's, how do I put it? Um, you can be, I mean, you can, this is gonna sound harsh, but you can be the best person in your real life, but on the dating app you may come across as a complete loser just because you don't know how to navigate the dating app, how,
Yeah.
what are the nuances, what are some of the things that you should and shouldn't say. Like I've seen so many profiles that say don't start the conversation with a simple hi because can you be more creative than that. Like, it's some of it is really tacky and you
Expectations.
don't know, yeah, and you don't know how to meet those expectations. So I feel dating apps have not done much good to us as a community as
Yeah.
such.
Yeah.
So this is the same case all over the world, like people, or is it like specifically for India? You feel like dating
I've
apps
seen
aren't
this in
working?
India. I haven't used dating apps in other countries, so I wouldn't know. But
Right.
this has been my experience in India.
Right. So basically nothing has changed since the 80s. It is still tough to tough to
It
actually get
is.
a relationship, right? I mean, like it is quite tough. So what are people doing these days? Like, I mean, obviously the amount number of people who want to listen to advice from their own family to get set up has reduced to a certain extent, right? It's not as 95% as before, I'm sure, like a lot of people. So, are there successful relationships these days? Are there, are
Of
there
course,
people
there
who are
are.
able to make it a success and
Yeah.
things like that? So, what would you say is their secret to success? Like, how are they able to make it successful?
Namta, you want to take that?
Namrata, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course, I do agree. There are successful relationships. Um, and what takes um, to have a successful relationship between like partners, I think some of the most important aspects, just how I described in the beginning, the understanding, the abilities. One of the most important things I feel is the ability to work through conflicts. There are going to be conflicts in a relationship, be it the most healthy relationship. There's partners are still going to fight. The important part is how do you repair those conflicts. In some cases people don't even make an attempt to repair, it's forgotten. In other cases it's actively denied, but it might leave both or one of the partners in a question mark, or okay, how am I going to go about this. So so to be able to work through that, to be able to regulate your emotions, so if there's anger and or other emotions, to be able to express that and regulate that, these are big star marks of um, of a successful relationship. And also in the future, let's say family dynamics, because in India family dynamic is another big part. Kids come into picture, so navigating through those areas also becomes very important in our culture. So how you're gonna um, give your partner as much importance while also upholding the family aspects, so to be able to navigate that. And when kids come into picture, how are you going to share your responsibilities, how they are going to feel respected, responsible, and yeah, just navigating those things becomes very important. And one, if partners are able to do that well, um, it should be successful.
Wow, this sounds like a lot of work. I hope we didn't convince everybody not to have relationships. And
It is indeed difficult. It is very difficult.
so, what are the
And
rewards here now? What are the okay?
the
All right. So,
rev-
like, yeah,
yes, it is worth it, because at the end of the day it's meaningful, it's purposeful. You, at the end of the day, you have a safe haven. You can go somewhere where at the end of the day your feelings are going you're going to feel seen and heard. I think that's something we all
yeah,
want. We want to feel childlike, we want to feel ourselves, and I think if a partner is able to bring that, it's all worth it.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
That's, I
know.
think, one of the biggest things. Yeah.
I don't know which movie was this, but I saw this on a reel. It's there's a man and a woman talking to each other, sitting on a bar stool, and the man asks the woman, "Why do people get married?" So she beats around the bush a little bit, and then he's like, "No, I really want to know what is it that makes people marry each other." And then she says, "It's the ability to witness someone and the ability to be witnessed by someone. That's all people
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah,
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, our
Otherwise, you
lives are not
probably
very meaningful. Otherwise, our lives don't have that much to offer as compared to someone being there for you, someone's life that you have touched, someone's life that you have changed with your presence.
yeah.
I think that's what people are looking for, and it's in today's world, to be honest, it's very difficult to find. I'm not gonna lie. But
Yes.
once you
right.
find it, or once you sort of build it, then it gets easier, right? And what you had asked earlier, Anup, about what is the secret sauce? Well, the secret sauce, in my opinion, is the fact that always remembering that you two are on the same team, and it's
Yeah.
us against the world. It's you have to have each other's back no matter what. You're like, you're like a basketball team or a cricket team. right? You're playing, it's the game of life, and you're playing a sport, and if you're not gonna be playing well with your teammate, then you're gonna lose the match. So
Right. It is a great power play when you and your better half, lack of a better word for that, they can stand up for yourselves. Like, I guess a lot of the times when you say, hey, we don't want that, when you tell somebody else who's attacking one person in the family, and both of you stand up, and
Yeah.
put that the thing across. I think, yeah, those are very, very powerful things, and I think it is stages as well, right? So, all right, so you're a lone wolf now, and then now you have one more in your team, and then, like you said, like it's like a thing. You will probably add one or two more in your team, and then you kind of have a you keep growing, right? Even I think mentally also you change. Like, there is something in you that just, it's like a switch, I think, that just probably goes off for these people. So yeah, I get that. So I mean, like, to kind of understand the final aspects of this, let's look at, uh, what are your advice for anyone who's looking for a potential partner? Like, beyond the surface, are there any tricks and tips that you can offer? Like, okay, you ask yourself these three or four questions, and it's a red flag, or you ask these three or four questions, right? Or how do you spot them early on, right? How do you spot the right ones a little early, and how do you weed out the wrong ones? If Namrata or Juhi, or anyone can take this one, like.
Yeah. So I think more than focusing on what's right, what's wrong, what's red, what's green, because people are going to have a mix of that. Um, Important part that I feel is, are these two people who are coming together, or in any other relationship, are people ready to put in the work to change if something is a barrier, or if something is causing a lot of conflicts? Are they ready to work to work on this? So it can be by communicating. It could also be going for therapy and things like that. So to be able to work through things, to have that willingness that yes, I want to work through it, and not just saying, showing it in your actions, and you have to wait for that. So because it takes time to see it in action, I think that's one just one thing
Like, okay,
I
Namrata, let's
think we should
talk
do.
like actual brass tacks. What are your three top red flags? You see someone who's like this, you just don't want to go near that person. Like, what would that be?
I can't. I don't. I'll have to think. I can't answer that.
For me, I'll start. For me, food is
Okay,
a
but
big
why
thing.
don't
Like,
you go? I'll think. Can build
yeah,
on it.
yeah. I think food. I think if somebody just says, they're not going to eat certain things, I'm going to be like really turned off. Like literally, like I want to get away. I don't care about the rest of the abilities of that person.
So apparently that's a red flag
I'm,
for you.
I'm off. Yeah, yeah, we're talking real world stuff here. Like, we're talking real, real
Yeah.
things here. I'm, I'm the next metro out of here. So that I think is one. And yeah, probably, little too insecure also. I really can't take this because from my point of view, if someone's like too insecure about something, it means like I cannot like look too far ahead, like being the kind of
Yeah.
personality that I just want to forge on ahead, like somebody being too insecure, I felt. But you're
Yeah.
right. I think you kind of learn these things much earlier in life because I was always like this, not just in the relationship of love per se, but even with certain friends, right? You kind of see it like you wouldn't kind of associate with certain friends in a certain way who actually have these traits that are red flags as well, right? You actually don't. Right. So
so
basically, you got
that's
to be smart, no, to have a good relationship and know yourself well. I guess that's
You have to
another thing.
understand
yeah.
what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and that's why the reds and greens are going to look different for everyone.
Right. Right. Is there a specific age that people need to go out and look for these relationships, or or is it Like,
No.
is there something that you have seen? Like, okay, should you be 22?
Not
What
really,
if you're
no.
40 and that's the time you decide to go out, looking
Absolutely
for love?
fine.
No, no
Even if a
problem at all.
no, why would there be a
Uh,
problem?
Okay, so it just depends on how you're, you know.
Even a 14-year-old can have feelings, fall in love for whatever
Right.
meaning they associate, and it's valid because they also have valid feelings. So I
Yeah, they would
think
have got an
there's
injection of hormones also at that time when you're 14 years old, that you kind of like it is almost an unavoidable reaction that you start getting, like looking at people slightly differently and all of that, right? So you
yeah,
can't
but
blame
it's
anybody.
yeah, and it's real, and there are people who have dated like right from that time, and they are married and have had a successful relationship. So I don't think there's any um, part to that. What about you, like Juhi? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's an age for love. I think love conquers all, and love is something that can happen to you anytime, any stage of your life. It can happen more than once,
Yeah, right.
and it is something that is beautiful, but it's only beautiful if you make it beautiful. It's not something that just happens on its own and it'll take care of itself, and how easily they show it in movies. It's not that easy. That's not how the real world works. Like anything worth having, I think it requires a lot of work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of awareness that, what's happening, where are things going, uh, and I think it's very important for a successful relationship to happen. It's really important that you gauge the other person really well and sort of try to provide for their needs as much as they provide for yours. It cannot be a one sided affair. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we
Right.
should take
Any
time.
final thoughts, Namrata, as well? Like, what would you like to say to the viewers on love, relationships, and things like
I
that? Like, what would be your final thing be to them before you send them out into the world to go?
I think
And
who you choose to live with is going to be one of the most important decisions one can make. Um, and so I don't think don't rush, take it slow, and be mindful, be aware more in all.
right, that's actually great advice. You've got to take it slow, right? I mean, like you can't force the issue because
I,
people don't react that well to anything being forced upon them at any time.
Along with
I
being
guess how
slow, being aware. People can be slow, they
being
can
aware.
take time, but without the awareness, that it won't make sense. So building awareness
Right.
is the for I think that's something I in general also abide by a lot. Like, be aware.
Right.
Awareness
Right.
is very important.
How about you, Joey? Final thoughts on what would you say?
I think the biggest thing would be to have faith in whether it's in love or whether it's in your partner or it's in yourself. I think for me, having faith is one of the most important and crucial things when it comes to life and living. So, even if you want to make it through tough times and if you want the relationship to last and if you want the relationship to survive all odds, then having faith within the relationship, within each other is really important.
Yeah,
So,
I
have the faith.
Right. Two big things: keep the faith and stay aware. Stay aware and keep the faith. I like that. That's a name for a song. We can probably.
yeah, actually two good really combinations. You're aware, there's faith.
The
Done.
faith. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, guys, that brings us to the end of our hour
Yeah.
for the show. And thanks, Juhi. As always, a pleasure to have you
Thank
on the
you.
Anup Zombie podcast. And you seem to have a lot of friends. Bring more as well.
I will.
Namrata, you as well.
Thank you so
Namrata, it
much.
was really great to have you. I really had fun in the session, and I wish I had known all of this a few years ago. But anyway, that's fine. We can look at that. But
Yeah.
the but yeah, Namrata, thanks for the show, and please be back anytime with more topics such as this to
Sure.
to enlighten the viewers around and to our viewers on everything. I think we would have gone live on LinkedIn for the first time. I don't even know if that stream is running. I just have to check that out. But we did go live on LinkedIn, and we are on YouTube
Yeah.
and X as well. Anyway, guys, so if you have any questions, do drop them. I think a couple of questions were dropped in last time, which I think Juhi managed to answer on our last episode. So the same thing will happen if you guys have any questions, or just particularly need somebody to talk to, just talk to us, and we'll do the needful. And thank you guys for coming on the show, and thank you for watching on all your channels. And from everybody here at Real Free Market and at the Anup Zombie Studio, it's good night from us. See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye bye. Bye, guys.